today. We have about 33 participants with us, and I'm glad that you guys could all come on. And this is my first time doing this, so I'm really excited. Um, so just a couple of things. I just wanted to set two norms for our group today. One is that there are probably going to be lots of questions that are not going to have answers. So I ask that you just be patient and come to this meeting with an open mind. If any of you watched today's HSTA, the Hawaii State Teachers Association, had a very colorful and energetic meeting that was streamed live on Facebook. And then the governor also had a press conference today. So still new pieces of information that are coming out. So I just remind you to come with an open mind. And the second one would be just presume that we all are coming here with positive intentions. And those positive intentions are to serve our keiki and our students and keep them safe and healthy. And just do right by our students, our families, and our teachers. So I'm going to get started. I do have a slideshow that I have slides that I'll be showing you today, and I'm going to share my screen and get started. I hope I have it on the right place. Otherwise, you will see my messy desktop. Nope, of course, it's not in the right space, but we'll get there. Oh, I'm not in the right place at all. All right. I'm just going to turn it into present mode. There we go. All right, so welcome to our coffee hour. If you're sensitive to caffeine, you may want to do a lighter beverage so you're not up tonight. But we're just going to get started right away. Just a second. Somebody wants to annotate. Oh, okay. So I'm going to get started with our... Oh, there we go. So I'm going to start with phases of reopening. So last week, Friday, Governor Ige and Superintendent Kishimoto announced that we were going to be reopening the schools in a different way. And so they called it the 3 phases of reopening. And so the first phase of reopening is happening next week, the 17th through the 20th. And they said that was for in-person student training. That's when students will come to campus to learn how to access their distance learning tools. Then they talked about phase 2, and that would start the week of August 24th and run through September 11th. And that was the ready to learn phase. So now that the kids know how to get their distance learning tools, students will start to work from home. And then finally, we have our phase 3, and that begins on September 11th. And that's the transition to blended learning. And so that means that school buildings are going to open up again for students to return to blended learning. I am going to say that September 8th, so during phase 2, almost towards the end, September 8th, we're expecting Superintendent Kishimoto to make an announcement about whether or not we will continue in our ready to learn phase and continue with distance learning, or if we would be returning back to school for the actual transition. And that will be made based on the numbers of COVID positives that we have here on the island. So that's what the governor and the superintendent announced. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just explain a little bit about what that looks like here at Ka'imiloa. So phase 1, that's next week. So what we're looking at is I have the week laid out for you. So Monday, and so this hybrid, I have 3 rows. This hybrid row right here is for any student who is scheduled to come in the orange and the yellow group. So if you're an orange group, you're scheduled to come Mondays and Tuesdays, and then stay home on Wednesday and Thursday doing online as Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. If you're the DLO group, that means you've signed up for distance learning only. So you have chosen not to come onto campus at all. But we do have a couple of special groups like our preschool students and some other groups that even with the school not having students on campus within that first week or until phase 3, that they will be attending on campus daily. So for this next coming week, starting Monday, our hybrid, we have on Monday half of our orange group coming on Monday, and the other half of our orange group coming on Tuesday. Our teachers should have already contacted you. If they haven't yet, they're in the process of doing that to let you know which day your child will be attending. Then on Wednesday, we'll have half of our yellow group, and on Thursday, the other half of our yellow group, and Friday is a holiday. So really what this does is it reduces the number even further. So we went from a full campus, and then we were cutting our campus in half with how many students we were allowing on. And with this reopening, because of the rise in numbers, we have reduced it further, so only a fourth of our campus. So really what that looks like for classrooms, most of our classrooms are between 12 to 14. So there'll be about between 5 to 7 students that will be in a classroom during this next week. I will stop here because one of the questions that I got was, why are we even coming to campus with numbers on the rise? And that's a great question. It's a question that administration struggled with, and then we struggled with our teachers with it, and made the best decision with the information that we have. And the reduction of numbers is to promote the health and safety. So that's why 5 to 7 instead of the 12 to 14. But the department, or the Board of Education, did not only say to focus on health and safety, but they really said to come from a place of empathy as well. And we do have students and or families that attend Ka'imiloa that do need the face-to-face support to be able to access those digital tools. And so with taking everything into consideration, we did decide to go with face-to-face. Because of that empathy piece, as well as considering health and safety. In addition to that empathy piece, we do understand that even parents who are having their child do the hybrid when schools open up, they may not want to send their child right now for the week of the 17th through the 20th. And so the teachers know that that's okay. There's not going to be any penalties. We won't mark any of the students whose parents don't feel safe. We won't mark them absent. We just ask that you come on a device pickup day to pick up your child's supplies. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. So this is phase 1, the week of the 17th through the 20th. In phase 2, that is the weeks. So that's running about 3 weeks. So August 24th through September 11th. And so here, what you'll see is the 3 columns are, this is that hybrid group again. So they come face-to-face sometimes and stay at home to do their learning sometimes. We have our DLO, distance learning only students who won't come to campus. And then we have our special groups. So for this 3-week period, the online work. So you'll notice that our hybrid and our DLO students, there's very little difference, and that's purposeful. So both our hybrid and our DLO students will be doing Acellus, as well as will be doing iReady, and will have teacher-created lessons. The difference in this online work is how much of each they'll be doing. So our hybrid students, because they'll come face-to-face, they will definitely have more teacher-created lessons than a typical DLO student would. And then the DLO student, because they're doing full online, they would do more Acellus than the hybrid student would do. But one of the things that's important to us is that we're making sure that our students are getting standards-based instruction. And so no matter if you're a hybrid or DLO student, you will be getting access to those standards. Do I decline that or approve it? Sorry, guys. I see somebody wants to annotate the shared content. Okay. So the next one is online meetings. So online meetings will be run by the classroom teacher, specials teachers or our reading teachers. And the homeroom teacher will let you know what the schedule is, because we're making a schedule so that students have consistent meeting times so that they know when they will be getting online. And so for our face-to-face right now in the weeks of the 24th through the 11th, there will be no face-to-face on campus. And so our special groups, they will be face-to-face, and they have their days that they're assigned to. So that is our phases of reopening. Phase 2. In phase 3, so phase 3 is as long as we are reopening our schools again, then students will come back to campus and we will go back into the planned hybrid model that we had. And that means that on Mondays, our orange group is face-to-face and our yellow group is online. So that's Monday and Tuesday. And on Wednesday and Thursday, our yellow group is face-to-face and our orange group is online. Fridays is our virtual Fridays. And so we don't have any students on campus except for our special groups. And both our orange group and our yellow group are online. So we are continuing to have specials. And our specials are PE, performing arts, our social emotional learning, which is Choose Love, and Hawaiian Studies. So we will continue to have that. And what's great about that is the students will go to their specials teacher. So our orange group students will go either on a Monday or a Tuesday, and they will have one specials class. So it's a little different, but they'll have one specials class for 60 minutes. And during that 60-minute time, it opens up the teacher, because they will not be teaching face-to-face. So it opens up that teacher to go and get online with their yellow group. And then the same thing. So then on Wednesday and Thursday, when our orange group is at home doing their online work, our students will have an opportunity for specials class, the same for specials. And during that time, when they have that hour with specials, then the teachers are freed up to be able to go ahead and get online with the students who are at home that day. On Fridays, teachers will be working online from 10 to 11:55. So we'll have about a 2-hour period where teachers will be getting online with students on Fridays to meet with them. And this just allows us to check in and make sure that kids are doing okay with the work that has been assigned. And I guess I'll pause here. Can I keep going, Mrs. Santos?
There is a question about, can you mute your mic? There's a question about a child being signed up for DLO, but his teacher called to report to class. Does that mean he's on hybrid or DLO? Yeah.
So if you signed up for DLO, then your child should be DLO. That being said, there are some teachers, though, that are still having students not come to campus, because that defeats the purpose of distance learning only, but to meet with the class. So if yes, teachers may be asking distance learning only students to meet online, but no, they don't need to come to campus. So my suggestion for that person is just to make sure that your child's name is on the DLO list. Any other questions? All right, so I'm gonna keep going. So next is we're gonna go over some of the things for distance learning, social distancing, because we really wanna be able to keep our students separated 6 feet. And so we have these stickers. And so I have a close-up picture here. Please wait here. Spread aloha, not germs. And so these stickers are placed throughout the campus. And so this happens to be at one of our near one of our buildings. But so what the stickers are placed 6 feet away from each other, and even if they're across from one another, they're still 6 feet away. But this just gives students a visual of where it is that they're to stand so that they don't get too close to any of their neighbors. This is what our cafeteria looks like. So you can see that the tables have been spaced out. You can see on the ground we have arrows so students know the direction in which they can walk. And then if you go ahead and take a look at the benches, the there are only 2 students per bench. And so that gives us that 6 foot between. So students have a visual of not sitting where the tape is drawn across, but just sitting on the ends where they have a space for them. That's our cafeteria. And then all of our classrooms, our teachers have organized their classrooms so that they have some social distancing of 6 foot apart. And I see Mrs. Santos raising her hand, so there must be a question.
There's a question about DLO kids. Are they going to have access to the specials class too?
So are we having, are our DLO students having access to the specials classes? Yes. So our specials teachers will be scheduling, so they'll have the same 4 specials as students who do come on campus. And that's because we still need to provide grades on the report card for that. And so we understand that our parents that selected DLO, it's not because they don't want their kid to come to school. We do understand that it's just out of safety. Any other questions?
There's another question asking if students will be able to pick up their lunches from the cafeteria even on the days they are on distance learning.
So lunches are going to be available for all students. Students that are not on campus for that day. So our on-campus students will go to the cafeteria and they will eat lunch in the cafeteria. The way that the cafeteria works out is it basically is 1 grade level per lunchtime. We just have a grade like 6th grade, we've split them up, but as you've seen, there's still that social distancing. For students who are off campus, there's going to be grab and go meals, and those will be served along the curbside fronting our cafeteria. And so I believe our times, this is memory, so be careful, it's an old brain, but I believe it's 11:15 to 11:30. Some of you might be shocked at the time because 15 minutes is not a lot. But we can stay out there longer than 11:30, but we just put 11:15 to 11:30 in case we don't have a large number of people that are picking up lunches. So that's how we're doing our meal service for our students who are off campus. Any other questions?
Nope. You can continue.
Okay, so I'm gonna move on. So now we're into the drop-off section. And so morning drop-off, we do ask, just like in the past, that you guys don't drop off your child any earlier than 7:15, excuse me. I'm sorry, you guys can see my email. Hold on. Okay, that you guys don't drop off your students any earlier than 7:15, because at 7:15 is when we begin to have supervision for our students. So the other thing that we're asking for is we're asking parents not to come onto campus, and this is to support us with social distancing. What we've done is we have assigned areas for every grade level. So like our pre-K students, our teachers are going to be waiting out there for our students, and they will hold their hands and walk them back to class, so that you just can see them like being, taken care of and loved just as they would be regularly. So our kindergarten and 1st grade students will be inside of the cafeteria. 2nd grade will be in F building downstairs, and 3rd grade is upstairs. Fourth grade will be outside of the cafeteria area. Fifth grade will be in their e-building upstairs, and sixth grade will be in the library so they can head out the back door and get to the portables. And so because I've already shown you guys the social distancing stickers, you guys can kind of visualize, okay, so when my child is there, they'll know how far apart to stay from other children. And in each of the identified areas, there are also adults supervising the area.
Can I interrupt you? There's a question that's asking about if all of this information is going to be available on our school website for reference.
So all of this is in a parent handbook that is hot off the presses per se. We're just finishing up with the fine tuning, and it will be a live document for us because as we get new information from press conferences or from the CDC, that we'll need to update it. But yes, it will be available online. For afternoon pickup, again, we are asking parents to not come on campus, and this just helps us with, it's not that we don't love you parents, we really do. It's just that we want to make sure that we can keep the social distancing. So we're going to have a staggered release, which means that we're going to have students being released at different times. So just a few notes here for our kindergarten students. They're going to be released at 1:55 along with some other groups of students, but kindergarten students that have older siblings, those older siblings will actually go to their room or to their meeting place, and they'll be able to go home together. Same will go for the walkers. So our walkers, they'll be dismissed at 1:55. And they can exit either the front or the back gate, but the oldest walkers will pick up the younger sibling walkers and they can leave campus together. And similar to the morning drop-off, we have an afternoon pickup schedule. So you can see that preschool, will leave the earliest at 1:50 and they'll be by the flagpole. Kindergarten, A+ and walkers will leave at 1:55. Kindergarten will be along their playground fence. A+ is just going to go straight to the cafeteria, and the walkers, they don't have a waiting area because we want them to, if they're a singleton, then they can just leave campus front or back gate on their own. And then if they have a younger sibling, they can pick them up at their classroom and go ahead and leave. Mrs. Santos' question.
So, question in the chat box is asking if their fifth grader is going to be picked up from Ilima by their older brother. Both will be on bikes. What would their process be? So, older brother's coming from Ilima on a bike, picking up the fifth grader.
Got it. We actually hadn't talked about that specifically, but since they're coming from Ilima, I would suggest a meeting place at the back gate. And then the bike rider would be able to, the bike rider would be considered a walker, so they would leave at 1:55. And I'm not sure how that time aligns with Ilima's release, but they would be able to meet at the back gate or the front gate, wherever. So just as long as they met off campus, that would just help us with the social distancing.
Another question in the chat box is asking if pre-K is half day instead of all day.
So preschool is half day for phase 1. That means that they are half day from August 17th through August 20th. And then they will be full days starting August 24th. Any other questions?
Yes. What happens if there's no one to pick up their child and he might be walking home or might be picked up? What would the process be?
So if up or if pickup or walking is it varies, there would need to be a way that you're able to communicate with your child or to your child's teacher. So we'll get to it later, but we will be having a communication app of classroom class dojo that you would be able to let your child's teacher know. If it's decided like in the middle of the day, uh, again, Class Dojo would work, but not a guarantee your teacher will see it because they are busy. So you would be able to call the front office and we could get a note to class. It would be best if your child knew, oh, no, I'm walking today, and they can communicate that with their teacher.
Another question is asking if parents go to the designated area for pickup. So if like I'm picking up a second grade child, do I walk to the building downstairs?
I see, I see. So no, parents, again, we're not that we don't love you, we love you a lot. But no, we do not want parents to come to their child's area. So what we're doing is yesterday morning or yesterday, we mailed out a bunch of information to for computer lending. We mailed home an ID for your child to get lunch, and we mailed home placards. And so the placards are to put on your car, and they're color coded. So, like our kindergarten placards are red, our first grade placards are orange, and it has a room number as well as your child's name. Display that on your car dashboard, and whoever is out at the front, there will be somebody at the front gate, and they will say, um, you know, oh, kindergarten E101 Santos. Then we will know that our E101 Santos child is leaving from kindergarten, and we'll make sure that they're ready and waiting. So parents will just be able to drive through in their car, or if they're walking to pick up their child, like many of you guys do, just waiting on the outside of the, like by the gates, um, by the fence line in the front or the fence line in the back for by the back gate.
Another question is just a clarification about pre-K drop-off. Is it in the parking lot or pre-K drop-off is in the parking lot or flagpole as well? Teacher said flagpole. Just double checking.
So teachers will be near the flagpole, but when they see your cars come up, then they'll walk to the car, and then um, you guys can kids can get out of the car there. They'll help you with the kids coming out.
Another question talks about bringing their supplies on Monday. Will they be able to bring their supplies?
Yes. Yeah, you can bring supplies on Monday. If you know, there's whenever we start school, we always have like a big troop of people that are out in front and ready to help. So if we see that students have like lots of things to carry, there will be an adult there to help them to class to get their supplies there. Okay. Okay. So these are our afternoon pickups, and as you guys heard, we have that placard, and so as kids are waiting in their area, the person at the front gate will see that placard and be able to call out the grade, the room number, as well as the child's name, and then each of these areas will also have someone there supervising to make sure that kids are not moving too close to someone, but keeping 6 foot distancing, that they're safe, as well as being able to get the student whose parent is coming to pick them up. All right, our next topic is devices. Students are going to be allowed to take home a device. We actually encourage every family to take home a device. And the reason we do this is because our faculty, first of all, our teachers are really, smart, and they would be able to probably help you with a lot of troubleshooting. But if a teacher couldn't help you, we have great tech support here on campus. And so it's just, we would be able to get you support quickly. The DOE is offering a help support desk, and I'm sure that it's fabulous. It just is that extra time that it takes to contact them and get the help that you need. So that's why we encourage everybody to borrow the device. And so what we've done, and I explained that we just mailed something out to you, is that we do have our media release form that needs to be signed every year. So our media release form was sent home in that envelope, as well as our device lending form agreement. Um, and so both of those need to be filled out in order for your child to be able to borrow that device. For our new students, there's something called, there's a paper in there that's called TRUF, and students need to fill that out. So 2 papers if you've been at Kaimiloa, 3 papers if you're new to Kaimiloa, to borrow that device. And so we have device lending going on tomorrow. And so that's from 8:30 to 10 a.m. And this device lending pickup is for our DLO students only. And that will happen in the school parking lot. Um, so that's our first device lending day. The next set of device lending times will be during the week of the 17th through the 20th. So when your child comes to school, they would get their device that day. And so we talked a little bit about why would we open up school and be face to face if we're going online? Well, this is also going to be the time for those students that, need the help navigating how to get on to their maybe to access Accelis or iReady or iExcel or anything that their teacher is going to have them do, Classroom Dojo. Their teachers will be able to walk them through and teach them and just support them in being able to access that. And so students will be bringing their devices home. This leads me to just a note for you is that that means students have a whole new supply that needs to go between school and home and school and home regularly. Um, so that because we don't have enough to lend as well as for students to be able to use. So the device and their charging cord will need to hop back and forth with them. But for the meantime, until September 11th, it will just be at home since they will be on full distance learning. The next set of device pickup days would be on the 20th. And that's the Thursday of next week. And there are parents, like I said, who are saying, no, I don't feel safe sending my child, or maybe their child is sick, so they couldn't come. So students who choose not to come to campus for face-to-face, or if they were absent for any reason, they can come and pick up. That will be from 8:30 to 9:30, again, in our school parking lot. Very similar to the procedures that we have followed in the past. The other question or thinking that we've been getting is what about Wi-Fi support? If I don't have Wi-Fi or internet access for my kids, then what do we do? So during this phased opening, so between August 24th through September 11th, we will have a learning a lab of sorts, and that lab will be in our cafeteria. You did see our cafeteria, and I believe our max is between 60 and 70. So I put 60 on the low end. We are also asking that parents accompany their child with them. So when you have the 2 per table, obviously parent and child are coming from the same space, so they could sit closely together. Because at this time we won't have that staffing available where everybody's going to be getting online and making sure that all of our students are also able to get online. So even if your child is in the cafeteria, they might be one of those students that we're trying to get online with to conduct learning sessions. After the 11th, I see Mrs. Santos's hand maybe going up. So hold on a second. So after the 11th, on the 14th, from the 14th on, we will have an 8 to 9:30 lab for students to be able to come and access Wi-Fi. Mrs. Santos.
The question in the chat box is asking if parents who brought school supplies to school that was already dropped off, will it be brought back home?
Will the supplies be brought back home? I believe what the teachers are doing is they are making grade level by grade level, possibly teacher by teacher, decisions on like these are the supplies I believe my students are going to need for this 8/24 to 9/11 learning period. And so they'll be sending home what the kids need to be able to do all their work through 9/11. If you prefer that your child has all of their supplies brought home, then I would encourage you to communicate that with the teacher. Any others?
A parent is asking if they can get their device tomorrow.
So if you would like to pick up your device tomorrow, would you be able to please contact your teacher? The best way is to contact your teacher just because it's already 5:45 tonight. So we would need to be able to prepare that. So to contact your teacher. Okay. So we're going to move on. And here's the school platforms that we talked about. So there are two school platforms. And the reason why we're changing is last year when we went in March for distance learning, I had to write things like, please refer to your school platform. And that was so confusing for some of our parents. So we decided to make sure that we had a streamline. So Class Dojo with this funny little green monster, Class Dojo is going to be kindergarten, or all of our grade levels will use Class Dojo for communication. So when there's messaging, they'll use Class Dojo. If there's school messaging, because we all have that capability that we can send out school messages through Class Dojo. That's how that's what we'll use to communicate. And that will just be in addition to, we have that school messenger that calls you or texts or emails you. We also have our website and our social media and email. So just making sure that we have multiple ways to be able to communicate with our families, since we're doing school in a completely different way than we ever have before. Class Dojo will also be used by our kindergarten through second grade teams for pushing out lessons. So if they create a lesson for your child to learn letters or sounds or math, then they could record videos, or they could have worksheets, and they could like send that to you through Class Dojo. Your child is also able to take pictures or record video, or do other things to be able to send back the work to their teacher. Our third through sixth grade teams will be using Google Classrooms to do that work. So they'll be using Google Classrooms to push out work as well as to accept any work from their students. I do want to say it's so important that you guys are on Class Dojo. So if you haven't signed up for it, I encourage you today, right now, do a multitask while you're listening in, and download that Class Dojo app. I believe that teachers have already reached out to you to be able to get you into their classes. So Class Dojo, that's an important one. Questions? Okay. Okay, attendance. So attendance has taken like a whole new meaning. So face to face. So right now we don't have face to face, except for the 17th through the 20th, which makes things confusing. But so face-to-face attendance will be taken traditionally. If your child is present in school, they're going to be marked present. The new way of doing attendance is because we've never had to really do online. Last year, we didn't take attendance. So this year, for students who are at home doing distance learning, including our DLO students, the way that we're taking attendance is that all weekly assignments are completed and submitted, as well as students attended all scheduled online meetings. And this is for any student. So a lot of parents are asking, does my child need to turn in the lesson right away? No. Your teacher will give the deadline of when it is due, and then they will just need to submit it by then. And that's, I think for parents, they're just making sure that some of you guys are going to be leaving your kids home because you're working, so you're going to be leaving them home with grandma and grandpa, and you're not trying to ask them to get to get online with them. So yeah, you'll have that time to work with your child on their work. But it is also really important that that's why we're having this week of the 18th, the 17th through the 20th, to teach kids how to get on, so that even if they're home with grandma and grandpa, you guys can just let your parents know, hey, 8:30, Miss Santos has to get online, and hopefully as a school we've done a good enough job that Mrs. Santos can get online on her own. But the other thing that we've talked to our teachers about is we've said that, if maybe what we'll need to do is we'll need to have like a parent time where we can walk them through, to be able to walk them through the steps of getting on, and they can practice with their child at a separate time. So we're trying to troubleshoot all of those things. Any questions?
There's a question about the use of Seesaw this year because first grade used Seesaw last year.
Yeah, so no seesaw this year. It was a big discussion last year. We were going between seesaw and class dojo, and class dojo is what our whole campus will be using for communication and what K through 2 will be using to give assignments and to receive assignments.
There's also another really great question. They're asking, will there be hand sanitizers around campus for students to access, or shall they be responsible for their own sanitation?
So we have hand sanitizers placed across campus. Every classroom does have a hand sanitizer dispenser in their room. And we have other hand sanitizers that are placed throughout campus. So, but if you also felt safe, that if you also prefer, you could send a bottle of hand sanitizer if you wanted your child to keep it on their desk so they could sanitize without leaving their desk. But yes, we will have that across campus.
Another question from a parent is asking, will DLO kids that will be using a CELIS have a due date too on assignments and a schedule for each subject?
So yes, so the way that this works is that we set our timeline. So we start school on the 17th and we finish school on May, I'm guessing 29th. And then what Acellus does is it parcels it into quarters. And then based on the quarter, it will assign lessons per week that the student needs to complete. And so what we said was by 11:59 p.m. on Sundays, all of that students' work for the week would need to be submitted. And part of Acellus is that parents and students are able to see all the work that is assigned for the week, and they will be able to just know, okay, I've got to finish 13 things by Sunday at 11:59. So you would be able to do some time management and blocking out of things for that. Any other questions?
Nope, that's all. You can continue.
All right. So that's the end of my slides. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing my screen once I get out of here. And then we'll open up to any questions, any additional questions that maybe I didn't address with the slides that I created.
There's a question.
Oh, sorry.
There's a question that's being asked. Will families have the flexibility to switch to 100% virtual should phase 3 start as scheduled?
Say that again.
Will families have the flexibility to switch to 100% virtual should phase 3 start as scheduled?
That's a tough one. Okay, so yeah, no, and yes. It's so difficult to just make hard and fast rules because every day, every day we get new information, and so um, I would I am asking that if you are committed to what you are with for the full quarter. And the reason for that is because it's really difficult for teachers to manage students being distance learning, face to face, back to distance learning, because not everything that Acellus will be doing is going to be it's not going to be exactly the same of what's happening in class and on Acellus. And so teachers are doing their best to align the standards, but it still is at a full quarter's length. So if a student came in or left at the mid-quarter and then jumped into another program, the worry is about gaps for the learning. That being said, I want our students to have education. I want them to be able to, access what it is that they need. So if a family is absolutely like, I just can't do this, I can't send my kid because the numbers are still so high, I am hoping then if the numbers are still so high that we will still be in distance learning. But yes, talk to administration. I'm not going to say no, it can't happen, and yes, it will happen. At that point, in the middle of a quarter, we really need to talk on a case by case basis. But what I'm trying to convey to you is that I do understand that these are scary times, and that everybody is making the best decision that they know how at the time that they're making them.
Here's another question that's asking, when will Acellus be contacting us or emailing us with information on how to log on and get started?
So so that envelope that's coming to you, it's like packed full of golden goodies. Because Acellus, we have your child's login and password for them to be able to get onto Acellus. And so it should be coming to you. If not today, then I'm gonna guess tomorrow.
There's a parent who inquired information about DLO through the Google form, but have not gotten information about it. How will he or she know if their child is DLO?
We have, so if you submitted a DLO, then, or if you submit a DLO inquiry, then either an administrator or an office clerk has been checking it. If you have not received anything, and I see right now one of my administrators looking on the computer as we speak, if you have not gotten any confirmation from via an email, then please call the office tomorrow and give your child's name and we'll contact you.
Another question is asking if it's possible for hard copies if the kids are having a hard time with like accessing an online work or with the online work.
This year we haven't been talking about hard copies. Again, this is going to be one of those non-answer answers. So what I would like to do is we would like to work and support you to try to see if we can get your child online or get them to be able to do the work. Obviously, if it's not working, then we'll need to talk about other options, one of which could be packets.
So if a parent decides to go 100% virtual, your recommendation is to wait till the quarter is complete and then transition?
Yes. So we have a quarter by quarter opt in and opt out. And so, the reason why we're doing complete distance learning is because the pandemic is very scary and people just don't want to risk their child getting sick. So, we didn't want to say you'd have to be in it for a year and then the numbers go down and it's safe, parents feel safer to let their child return. So yes, it is a quarter by quarter option. And I do ask that parents wait till the quarter to be able to go in and out. Again, I will say again that it's not a black and white answer here. So if in the in the in the middle or during the quarter that a parent is just has other ideas, then I ask that you contact the administration and we have a discussion and it will be case by case.
So my child's teacher wants her to do classwork and not from Acellus, but the child is DLO. Will my child be able to do just classwork teacher assigned or needs to do only Acellus? How does that work?
So I right now, because we did not anticipate, right, the news of this three-phase opening just came out last week Friday. And so our students that plan to be DLO were our teachers were like, okay, well, they will just be DLO. But now that we have this option that all of our students are going to be distance learning, there are some teachers that are hoping for their that they would like their DLO students to join class as well. And so, yes, the offer for students to be a part of the class, of course, they're always welcome to be. They're on our roster. They're a part of our Kaimiloa Ohana. That doesn't change. So, yes, them being a part of the class is something that some teachers are doing. I will say that there is like a little caveat for fourth grade. Any student on distance learning only for fourth grade, our fourth grade team is not going to do social studies with Acellus. And that's because it's social studies from Wyoming and or Montana or something that's not Hawaii. And that's because in fourth grade, Hawaii does Hawaiian studies. And so what they're doing is they're going to have the DLO students a part of their project-based learning unit, which is focused on their Hawaiian studies. So that's the only grade level that I know of right now that any DLO student will be working with their class for social studies. But there are other teachers who are also during this time of the phased openings inviting the DLO students to participate with the hybrid students.
The next question, will Acellus be done during regular school hours or anytime during the day?
Like, what do you mean?
I'm assuming, or I'm inferring that for DLO kids, does it have to be done between 8 and 2, or can they do it anytime?
I see. Yeah, so the question is does it have to be done during the day, during the school day, or can it be done at any time? And so if the question is that do I need to have my distance learner or even a hybrid student who may be working on a CELIS, do they have to do it between the hours of 8 and 2? No. You would just need to adhere to the due date of when your assignment was due. Um, so if you wanted to work on it, from 7 to 9 p.m., or if your child was an early riser and was like 6 to 8 or 6 to 6:30 and take an hour break, or yeah, it doesn't need to be the regular school hours, especially since we know a lot of, like I said, a lot of our students will be with grandparents or aunts and uncles, and that's just not a possibility. So it doesn't have to be the traditional 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. And that is for the computer work. WebEx meetings, so teacher meetings are going to occur during the regular class time. But I have asked teachers, and teachers are having some static meetings like, okay, kids, we always have math from 8 to 8:30. But there are other times, because our teachers do a lot of work where we say, oh, you three, we need to work on, our character development for writing. So they would have different small groups, but teachers will be letting their class know in advance. So it's not like, oh, in an hour I need to see you, but in advance of when their meetings would be with their class or their teacher.
The next question is asking, will parents of DLO students need to call in to inform the office that the student will be picking up lunch for that day?
No. We're working with Campbell because we get our food from Campbell. And so what they're going to do is the only thing that students who are getting grab and go lunches when they're not on campus is they're just going to need their ID. And so if you don't, in fact, the child doesn't even need to be in the car for them to pick up their lunch. Their parent or older sibling or whoever is coming just needs that child's ID. And then we can scan it, and they'll be able to get it. And so what we'll do is Campbell will just be looking at, oh, Kaimiloa always has about 200 lunch pickups. So they'll just make an average amount of food so that they can supply. So no calls are needed when you're off campus.
The next question is asking, will my child have to do double work with teacher assignments and ACELIS assignments if teacher wants them to be a part of the class?
No, not double work. So like the example that I gave with fourth grade, so we're not having fourth grade social studies on a CELIS, and that's why fourth grade is having the DLO students join them. And that's to make sure that we can get the correct standards. And actually, a CELIS works great as a supplement. So what teachers are doing is they're aligning, like, if they're teaching fractions or multiplication in their class, then they're trying to move the ACELIS fractions or multiplication lessons so that the DLO students are getting those same standards, so that if the DLO student wants to then return in second quarter, they've still learned the same standards. So a lot of our teachers are actually, because ACELIS has been purchased for every single one of our students. So a lot of our teachers are actually using ACELIS with students who are also in hybrid so that they can practice.
We have no other questions in the chat box.
Okay, so we don't have any additional questions that are in the chat box, but everything has been recorded. And if I believe we're having another one tomorrow with the same link. So if you wanted to jump on again tomorrow, and then again, please reach out to your teachers if you have any questions. Call the office. Any of the administrators would be happy to talk to you and help you. We understand that this is just a lot of information, and it's always changing. So please reach out and ask. We're always here for you and you're for your kids. So I think we have a question.
Sorry, one last question. In regards to ID, do we have to call to schedule appointment to get the student ID?
I no, you don't need to get a student ID. All of them have been mailed home, and we are using an old picture so that their old picture was put on, but these ones may not have pictures. I'm just gonna say I'm gonna have Mrs. Hirata, my vice principal, who's been in charge of working on the IDs. I'm gonna have her unmute herself and go ahead and respond to that.
Thank you. Okay, so IDs have been sent home to all. It's
Hold
not
on, we
working.
can't hear you. Oh, there now.
Is it working now? Yes. Okay. Student IDs have been sent home, mailed home yesterday, so you should either be getting it today or tomorrow. Some students don't have IDs, for example, new students, because we didn't have a chance to take a picture of your child. But all other students who have been at Kaimiloa, we're going to be using the old pictures for now until we can get students back in school and update their pictures. So regardless if your child has an old picture or not, the information on your ID, the barcode, is still valid for your child's account. So just like in regular school, distance learning is regular school. They're just not on campus. In order to receive a meal, the child's ID card needs to be scanned. So just make sure when your child is off campus, they don't have to be there. You just need to bring the cards. It'll get scanned and then you will receive the meal. So if you have a family of 10 kids at Kaimiloa, you can bring the 10 IDs at the same time. The kids don't have to be in the car. All the cards will be scanned and then you will receive the 10 meals. So with the food, we only can scan kids who are actually enrolled at Kaimiloa. If they're enrolled at Ilima or Campbell, we can't scan those. You would actually have to go to those schools to get the meals.
There are no questions
Yes,
in the chat box.
if you did not receive the mailing with the student's ID in it, yes, please call the office on Monday. We want to make sure all children have those IDs.
All right. Well, as I said, thanks for joining us. Really appreciate you guys just coming on to find out more information. And again, please reach out by calling the the office. We're happy to talk to you. Have a great rest of your evening, and we hope to see you soon. Bye.